Welcome. Bear with me for the first couple videos as I get used to operating a video camera and presenting these online classes for you guys. And I'm super stoked that you're tuning in and that you have interest in my classes, and as always you can email me any questions. As I instruct you today, I'll refrain from doing most poses. If I feel as though it's a more complicated one or the cueing is just too much, then I'll go ahead and demonstrate a little bit so that it gives you a visual. Otherwise, let's just jump straight into yoga. Let's close our eyes and find a comfortable seated position. In seated, our shoulders are back over our hips, so we feel the muscles along our spine engage. Our butt bones are firm into the floor. So if they're not, we lift up, we peel them back, and then place them back down. You can sit cross-legged with legs out in front of you, with legs out wide, whatever allows you to have a tall back with zero rounding in the shoulders. Chin parallels the floor. Collarbones are open. And we begin to breathe in and out of our nose. First, just noticing the breath, the depth at which it moves into the body, and the pace at which it moves into the body. And as we breathe, our body naturally begins to relax. And then we can lengthen out our inhale and our exhale. For proper breathing in yoga, there's a slight restriction in the throat, as if you're whispering, creating a valve is what we call it. This helps to control the pace and the amount of air, so that we can slow the breath down even more. That way we can steady ourselves even more. We try to keep our lips together as we practice, but our jaw is relaxed. Our tongue lightly touches the roof of our mouth. And we release the arms down alongside the body. Eyes can be open or closed. And when I do move, I won't be mirroring what your motions will look like, so go the opposite direction of me. To warm up the shoulders, inhale, raise the right arm, reach up through the fingers, point the thumb towards the back of the room, walk the left fingers a little bit further out, and on the exhale, bend into the left waistline. The glutes or the butt stays firmly on the floor, and the throat stays open. Shoulders rolled onto the back as if we're opening our chest up towards the ceiling. The ear doesn't pull towards one arm or the other. It stays fairly centered. And as our body begins to open up on the right side, we can go deeper into the bend on the left side. If at any point your right butt cheek lifts up off of the floor, you've gone too far. So walk that left hand back up until it's firm, and then focus again on the bend in the waistline. Inhale, rise up. Remember the pace of the breath. Release the arm on the exhale. Inhale, raise both arms. Thumbs point towards the back of the room. Arms are in line with the ears. And if we have a tendency to hold tension in the neck and shoulders, take the arms out wide in a capital letter Y position or a cactus position. On your exhale, engage, pull the belly button back towards the spine, forcing the breath out of the body. Bend from the hips rather than rounding in the shoulders, and bring the hands to the floor out in front of you. If your low back is extremely tight and that seems like too much of a feat, take a hold of the shins and just imagine pulling the chest slightly forward while keeping the butt bones firm in the floor behind you. Chin is neither dropped nor lifted. On your next exhale, curl the shoulders forward, take the chin towards the chest. And then roll up, one vertebrae at a time, rolling the shoulders onto the back. Arms down alongside the body again. Raise the left arm on the inhale, thumb points out behind you, shoulders away from the ear. Walk the right hand a little further out, and exhale, bend into the right waistline. Keep the chin open, the throat open, the chest open, and try to reach and extend out through the crown of your head, as if someone's placing their palm there and you're trying to push their palm away. Imagine I'm in the room with you, patting the top of your head. You really want me to stop, so you push, you lengthen out through the neck. And each exhale takes you a little bit deeper. If you're tighter on one side than the other, then hold that side a little bit longer, since yoga is about creating balance in the body, rather than balancing the time on both sides. Good. Inhale, come up. Unless you're still holding, take your time. You'll exhale to release the arm. You'll bring the hands to heart center. The hands coming together at heart center is, in my classes or in my instruction, a symbolism of us coming back to our core. It's where our core strength comes from that we're able to move. And when the palms touch at the center line of our body, it reminds us of that strength and that engagement. It reminds us that we need to connect there first before we can extend and stretch out. Bottom ribs aren't pushed up and out. Instead, the bottom ribs pull down towards the waistline so that we're not peacocking the chest and lifting the chin. And then we'll extend the legs out in front of us. If you can't see my feet, just know that they're flexed and the heels are pressed down into the floor. It's as if we're digging our heels in and pulling them slightly back towards us so that we engage the back of our legs. There's a micro bend to the knee. We don't want to bend too much unless we're rounding through the back, but we want our knees not pushed into the floor as well. Once you have the legs engaged, to ensure a little bit more engagement, you can take the hands to the inner thighs and push the hands against the inner thighs and squeeze back with the thighs. And then raise the arms. Try to keep the shoulders above the ribs, above the hips. And if you've rounded when extending the arms, take them out wide or bend the knees a little bit more. Make sure that you have a nice, long, tall spine so as not to compromise our core strength. Remember, the breath moves in and out of the nose. And once it's filled up all the way through the lungs from top to bottom, it pulls into the belly. Then on the exhale, we engage the core, pulling the belly button towards the spine, narrowing the waistline, and pressing the breath up and out of the body as the ribs draw closer together. This is called staff pose. We hold to engage strength throughout our entire body. And on the next exhale, we'll release. Let the toes kind of flop out and the arms release down alongside. Then bend the right knee. I know I said that I wasn't going to do most of the poses with you, but it seems much easier to record this video if I'm doing some of the motions, since I don't have any bodies to look at as I record. So bend the knee into the chest. You can place the foot a little bit towards the outside edge of the glute, and it can be as far out or as close in as what works for you. Butt bones are firm into the floor. So we don't bring it so far in that we're tilted off to the side and then we're cranking back with our shoulders trying to compensate for that tilt. We want the body to be centered. Then we'll reach down and we'll take a hold of our big toe with the two first fingers of our right hand. We slide the fingers between the first and second toe, and then we wrap around the big toe. This creates a little bit more solid of a grip for us. Remember to keep the back tall. I'll give a lot of modifications, so whatever you need to do. You can bend the left leg and plant the foot to keep the back straight, or just create a little bit of bend in the knee. Just make sure that foot's active. Right foot is active as well. And we just begin to pull it and push it back towards us. We're opening up the hip, we're just creating a little bit of fluidity. So you can go in whatever direction really works for you. It's like I don't like the word lubricating and I don't like the word moistening, but that's essentially what we're doing to the joint. We're getting fluid to the joint. That's the way I want to say it. And then when you're ready, you can just extend the right leg as much as is comfortable on this hamstring. And we want the shoulders to stay on the back rather than pulling forward and dropping into our shoulder, because the stretch isn't about up here. It's about the back of our leg. The left hand can come a little bit behind us for support. And we breathe. You listen to the sound of your own breath. Maintain that breath, bend the right knee, and take the right ankle over the top of the left thigh, right above the knee. Right foot's flexed. Breathe here. If you're having trouble focusing, drop the gaze down the bridge of the nose, straight out in front of you. Just find a place on the floor to look at while you listen to the sound of your breath. And then you can bend the left knee and plant the foot as close into as is comfortable. So this might tip us back a little bit into our hands, which is fine. We can have them for support as long as our back stays long and our shoulders don't round forward, nor do our shoulders drag out towards our ears. So our ears are as far away from the shoulders as possible. Right foot's flexed, right foot's flexed, right foot's flexed. I'm going to try not to say it any more times. Just remember that cue. Feeling the stretch on the outside edge of the right hip. If you don't feel anything, bring the left foot closer and towards you. Maintain a tall spine, because if we lose the muscles of the back, then we'll lose the stretch in our hips. Good, and slowly release. Extending both legs back out in front of you. Shake it out a little bit, and then switch sides. So remember, we bent the left foot. Bring it in. Eventually take hold of the big toe with those fingers, and you kind of work it out a little bit. Feel the way your hip and your leg are as you go through these movements. Areas of tightness or areas where you don't feel much. And the entire time, keep the structure of the upper body. Our poses essentially mean a lot less when we're kind of collapsed and just hanging out and just kind of going through the motions like we don't really care. We gotta care, we gotta commit. Flex the feet. Bend the knee back. Move from side to side. It's like a playfulness that we had when we were kids. Taking that back. And when you're ready, extend the leg. Good. Bend that left knee. Take the ankle across the top of the right thigh. Foot flexed. This pose is called figure four because if you look down at your legs right about now, they'll make a figure four. Maybe, depending on how tight we are. And then when you're ready, you can bend the right knee and plant the foot. Keep long through the neck, keep the shoulders on the back, the chest open. Bring it in if your hips started to open up a little bit more. And then release. Shake it out. Wiggle a little bit from side to side. Disconnect the butt from the floor. And then refine your seat. Soles of the feet together, knees out wide. Sometimes it feels just good to shake and wiggle it out a little bit. Take a deep breath. Open mouth. Kind of sigh. Kind of just close the mouth. Recommit to the breath. Flex the feet. Bring them in as close to the groin as is comfortable for you. Then you can begin to bend forward and use the elbows to kind of press down on the inner thigh or the inner calf or the inner knee to deepen the stretch on the inner thigh and the groin. The neck is long. Remember where the gaze drops or the eyesight drops to, point of focus. And then slowly come up. And take the heels about another at least 2 inches away from you, depending on where you are. If they're really close in, take them about 6 inches out. Right hand comes to the left knee. Left hand comes behind you. We inhale, we make sure our spine's tall. We kind of lift the chest a little bit, stretching out space between the ribs. And on the exhale, we re-engage the core, we pull the ribs back together, and we begin to twist. But we're twisting by the strength of our core, not by the pull of the arms. So you should be able to lift the arms up off the floor, twist, then release the hands just to feel like you're able to maintain this for a few breaths. But don't use the arms to crank you into position. Release. Switch sides. Take a moment at center before you switch sides for me. Just to notice if you can feel any differences in your right or left hip or in your right or left shoulder. When we move slower, we're able to connect to the awareness of what's actually going on in our body. Once we do that, we know ourselves a little bit better each time, and we know how to adapt for the next time. This reduces risk of injury. It also helps us to slow down in our lives in general. Let's take the left hand to the right knee and the right hand behind you. Remember, inhale, lift up through the chest a little bit, and exhale, contract everything, pull it together, lift the hands, twist. And once in the twist, release the hands down. Remember, they're your support system, not your crank. Good, release. Come back to center. After any time that we twist or bend from right to left, we want to forward fold. So we'll extend the legs now. Keep the chest open to the top of the thighs, which means the shoulders are on the back. The hands come to like the outside edge of the thighs, the knees or the calves. Or if you're super flexible, they come to the outside edges of the feet. This helps keep our shoulders rotated open rather than when we bring our hands on top and our shoulders rotate closed in. Each inhale pulls the chest forward, and each exhale engages through the low core so strong it feels like there's a weight, a bowling ball weight in our pelvic floor, pushes our butt back down into the floor. The engagement or the strength of the pelvic floor feels like you're going to the bathroom and you suddenly have to stop. We all know what that feels like. So that's what you want to do to engage that strength down there. That's where the exhale should begin from. And then from there, it engages the rest of the muscles up and out of the body. And if that doesn't make sense, don't worry about it. It might one day. Good, inhale, come up. And exhale, bend the right knee, take the right foot to the inside of the left thigh. Both feet are flexed here. We'll take the left hand to the inner left knee. We'll take the right hand out behind us. So now we're turned towards our bent leg. We'll inhale to raise the right arm. Thumb points out behind you, and on the exhale, we bend again through that left waistline. Maybe our left elbow bends, or maybe it comes out to the floor to support us, or we walk our hand further down. There's a cockroach crawling towards me, so I'm just going to blow it away really quick, but stay in this bend. Tiny little guy, they're quick. The joys of living in the jungle. Chest is still open. Right butt cheek is still firmly on the floor. And then on an exhale, we'll rotate the torso so that it comes folding over the straight leg. Hands are out to the side and supportive, or again on the outside edges of the leg. Crown of the head pushes towards the front of the room, neck is long, chin isn't too dropped or too lifted. And we're just going to kind of work our way around the body here. You'll see what I mean in a moment. So we stretch the right side, and now we're stretching the right side of the back. And now we're going to take the right hand to the outside edge of the left leg, take the left hand off to the side, and begin to kind of pull ourselves a little bit more, deepening the stretch into the right back. Maybe it takes it all the way up towards the shoulder for you. You can turn the chin to come in alignment with the left shoulder, as long as you don't have any major neck injuries and there are no catches that happen when you do that. And release. Slowly come back to center, and then come up, and then switch sides. Feet are flexed. Left hand comes behind you, right hand comes to the leg. We inhale, we raise the left arm, and we exhale, we bend into the right side body. Looking to stretch from our left hip up through our left shoulder. And then we'll exhale and rotate our torso down so that we're folding over the straight leg. Now stretching more into the left side of the low back. Left hand to the outside edge of the right leg, right hand way off to the side, and then begin to pull yourself and turn. Cockroach is coming back. Excuse me. They're so quick. Freak me out. He's just a little guy. Good. Slowly come back over the front leg and then roll up. Extend both legs and then bend the feet and bend the knees and plant the feet. And kind of let the upper body rest on the thighs. Tuck the chin a little bit towards the chest without totally dropping into it. And then roll down to lie on your back. Hug the knees into your chest for a few moments. Feel the shoulder blades press into the floor. The whole spine should be long along your mat. So from the sacrum, the very base of our spine, there's a big triangular disc, about like that size maybe. That wants to be flat on the floor and then up through our shoulders. We don't want to flatten our cervical spine. We're not working on exercising that curvature so far. Take the arms down alongside the body now. Palms facing flat into the mat. Release the feet to the floor. Keep the knees bent And take the knees so that they're about 2 fist width distance apart, and the feet should match that. Heels should be just out of reach. It's freaking me out. Heels should be just out of reach of the fingertips. And on the next inhale, keep the nose pointed up towards the ceiling, press into the feet, lift the hips, coming into bridge pose. The chest comes a little bit more towards the chin, but we lengthen our neck so that the chin and the chest don't touch. We're engaging the entire back side of our body, so the back of our legs are engaged, our glutes are engaged, and the muscles along the spine are engaged. We can shimmy the shoulders underneath us and interlace the hands behind our back. And we gently press the back of the head into the floor so that we keep natural curvature in the neck. Hold for 3 or 4 more breaths. And then roll down 1 vertebrae at a time. Release the arms down alongside the body if you interlace them. Let the glutes fully let go so that your butt muscles aren't holding on anymore, and they're kind of heavy and floppy into the floor. That should soften the low back into the floor as well. And then you can take a brief hug of the knees in towards the chest, or you can take hold of the back of the thighs and straighten the legs up towards the ceiling, keeping the feet flexed as the feet are up towards the ceiling. The toes will pull back towards you, the heels will push away, and the knees are as bent as they need to be. But again, this is a forward fold just to kind of reconnect after we've done a back bend. And then take the arms out to the side in a capital letter T position. Knees into the chest. Palms facing up. And on the exhale, let the legs fall over to your right. As our knees fall over to the right, they're as close in or as far away from the torso as they need to be to get down onto the floor. So we want our feet relaxed onto the floor, and we want our legs as relaxed as possible onto the floor. And we steady the breath. We keep it deep with our inhale and well paced with our exhale. Our exhale should match the length of the inhale. Come back to center and then slowly switch sides. Remember to let the feet come to the floor, the knees relax, the inner thighs relax, and just focus on the depth of the breath. Twists help to balance right and left side. So they'll balance left shoulder, right hip, right shoulder, left hip. Bring the legs back to center. Hug the knees into the chest. You can stay there, you can take happy baby. Happy baby, with the knees drawn in towards the chest, you can take hold of the inner or outer edge of the foot. And the sole of the feet come parallel with the ceiling, or as close as they can get to that. And you pull the knees down on either side of the torso, so the legs are a little bit wider, so that the legs can frame the torso. This helps to flatten our spine again, and it's that forward fold. It just releases the muscles of the back, reconnects us to our body, and then when you're ready, extend the legs out into your final resting pose. Since this is your video, you can take the time that you need. In the final resting pose, legs are a little bit wider than the width of our hips from the outside edge. And the toes fall out, heels point in a little bit. Palms are facing up towards the ceiling, or we can rest hands on the belly. We want our elbows to be heavy into the floor. Because that was a short practice, you can begin to come into a fetal position on either side. However, if you need more Savasana or more resting pose, please take it. Once you're in a fetal position, use your arms to press up to seated. Again with the tall back, shoulders over the hips, and palms at heart center, reminding us to reconnect to our core. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Namaste. Again, thank you. I hope you're feeling better or got what you needed from that. And if you have any questions, email me. Email bodybreakthroughs@gmail.com. Just bear with me. I wanted to start getting these videos rolling so that it starts to build some momentum. They will get a little bit better, both sound and visual quality, as I'm able to set up a space. Have a wonderful day or evening.